You are now listening to a member of the Disney Podcast family. Head over to Disney Podcast Family on Instagram to see all the latest posts for this show and links to other great Disney podcasts.
Melissa Pilgrim is our choice for your next Disney vacation. You can reach her at amagicalpilgrimage@gmail.com. We thank her for her support.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las puertas.
Here's a wild ride in the vista.
In this train, all is changing.
So today on Miles from Main Street, it is just me today. How are we doing today, everybody? I'm here to talk about my most recent trip and the things that I did and the fun that I had. But first, I'm going to tell you guys, remember to like and subscribe. Brian usually does this stuff. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You don't want to miss anything. We are live every Wednesday. We're bringing you Disney content. We are Miles from Main Street, and we're just helping you guys live your Disney dreams while not at Disney. But I got to go to Disney, and we had a lot of fun. This most recent trip, we were able to stay at Beach Club, and the main reason for that was because we were going to be spending a lot of time at Epcot, and that is because Simple Plan was playing at Epcot, and I have to say this was just the young Mykhilo's dream, to be able to see one of his favorite bands at probably his favorite place. So it was just wonderful for me. Growing up, I was a giant Simple Plan fan. Not to get too deep into me, but when I was growing up, Simple Plan and kind of like pop punk music was the beginning of my not like musical awakening, but kind of like when I was able to decide what kind of music I really wanted to listen to. It was a lot of like Blink-182 and Simple Plan and Sum 41 and stuff like that. So it was so cool to be able to see these people that I've been listening to for a long time, and they mean a lot to me musically at Disney, which is, I mean, one of my favorite places, if not my favorite place to be. So super excited about that. I've a lot to talk about. We were able to do a dining package with that, so we were able to get pretty decent seats for one of the shows, but it was a lot of fun. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is staying at Beach Club right next to Epcot. And honestly, if you are going to be spending a lot of time at Epcot, it is just a game changer. The resort itself is also very, very nice. We found it to be very fun, very beachy, and it was really cool to kind of like have that beach vibe around all of these other resorts, because you also had Yacht Club. It's basically the same resort that's right next to it, and then you also have Boardwalk that's across the water. So all of these places are extremely easy to walk to, including walking right over to Epcot. So we had a great time being able to stay at Beach Club. We threw in some pool days while we were there. That was a lot of fun, but really kind of like the main draw with staying at Beach Club was the vicinity to Epcot. Just being able to walk right into Epcot from Beach Club. Honestly, I think it's the closest resort to a park. If not, I mean, Beach Club and Boardwalks, they seem like they're probably the same vicinity, but it's so easy. It's literally just like one left. And you end up just walking straight into Epcot. So it was really great. That definitely helped with getting ready in the morning. We didn't have to kind of like factor in that extra like 20-30 minutes from when we needed to leave and dealing with transportation. We just kind of walked out and there we were. So that definitely helped with going to Epcot a lot. We did end up going to Magic Kingdom one day on our trip, and that was a lot of fun. I just feel like if you're gonna go to Disney, you have to throw in Magic Kingdom at some point while you're there. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Beach Club was great. It was actually our first deluxe resort stay, so that's really cool. We're hoping to do more. We also talked to. I feel like this happens almost every trip. We talked to a DVC representative, and they gave us a bunch of information. So yeah, that'll probably end up happening. But Epcot and Flower and Garden. Flower and Garden was great. I love all the topiaries, and I just love how the park is dressed up so well for Flower and Garden. It's a lot of fun. I don't get into it as much as my wife gets into it. She loves all the flowers. The park always just smells really great, just kind of like where all the flowers are, and you kind of get that that smell in the park. She just loves that. So that was a lot of fun. We also were able to try a lot of the food for Flower and Garden, but the main draw was Simple Plan while we were there. So the first time we saw Simple Plan, I'll kind of explain how these shows work. So these shows happen at the American Garden Theater, which is the theater that is like right in front of the American Pavilion. You can go see all kinds of stuff there. They have the Candlelight Processional there. Anytime there's larger bands, that's where they're performing. And it's not like a huge venue. Even from the back, even if you're not in the venue and you're just kind of passing by, you have a pretty decent vantage point to what's happening. But the way it works is people will line up, people will queue up pretty early for these events. The bands will come in and they'll play 3 sets. There's the first set at 5:30, the second set at 6:45, and the third set at 8 o'clock. So, we ended up going to the first one, like on our first day, as soon as we got there, the 5:30 set. And we did not plan on getting there early and standing in line. Because that happens pretty much all day. Is like there's just this huge line all day of people waiting to get in. And so we just kind of walked up to the American Garden Theater and kind of looked around, and we were kind of like, it looks like there's standing room in there. I wonder if we can get in. And we actually ended up walking to the entrance and just walking right in, and ended up getting standing room. And the show was about to start in like 2 minutes. And so it's very easy to just, like, if you just want to stand in the back and you don't want to have to deal with waiting for a seat or just pretty much waiting all day to try to get in on just standby. It was super easy to just like stand in the back and chill back there. And honestly, the view was fine. Like it's not that big of a venue. And so even in standing room in the back, I felt like I was getting a really decent view of the show. So that was really cool. And the vibe at this show, I haven't been to many of these shows at American Garden Theater. We did go to Plain White Tees last year when they were doing the Garden Rocks band. I'm not sure what it's called. The Garden Rocks theater thing. But we really enjoyed this one. I feel like the Plain White Tees was kind of like muted. Like people were sitting in their seats, they were singing along a little bit. But with Simple Plan, they really kind of like brought a lot of energy. And so it was really cool to see people like really getting into it. Like it wasn't as much as like if you were going to go to like a real show at a real venue, like nobody was like trying to mosh or anything like that. And obviously Disney would put a stop to that. I even got like every so often I would jump for certain songs. And I don't think Simple Plan ever actually asked you to jump. But I know just from seeing different shows and seeing different videos, there's parts where they ask you to jump. And I got worried that maybe Disney was, or like somebody was going to come ask me to stop jumping. Cause I know sometimes they frown on that. But I mean, I would jump for a little bit and I would stop, and there would be other people that were jumping. And it really did feel like a real show a little bit, especially with the kind of energy that Simple Plan brought to everything. And obviously, not all of Simple Plan's songs are Disney friendly. In fact, they played a couple songs that were not Disney friendly, and they kind of changed the lyrics to it a little bit, which I thought was surprising, that they actually played a couple of these songs. But yeah, it was all in all, it felt like a real show. It felt like I was really seeing Simple Plan at like some show venue that I would normally see them. And I think that kind of speaks to how well Simple Plan can perform. Because I have seen other shows there, like Plain White Tees was just kind of muted. I think we were all still sitting in our seats, and when Simple Plan came out, everybody stood up, and everybody got really excited. So that was really fun to see that shows like that at American Garden Theater and Epcot can really be pretty exciting. So, if you're watching this and you are a Simple Plan fan, I will tell you that they played a lot of the hits. The very first song I saw them play was "I'd Do Anything," and that's like their hit. Like that's like the one that, like, even if you're not a Simple Plan fan, you've probably heard that song. It was very popular back in the day, and so it was cool that was like the first song that they played. But then they would sprinkle in some of their new stuff, some stuff that had come out a few years ago. And that was cool to see too, because I'm a Simple Plan fan. I've listened to most of the albums. There were a couple albums kind of in the middle I wasn't too into, and they didn't play too many songs from those albums. But it was cool to kind of hear like the hits and then hear some deeper cuts that like I really appreciated and I knew. And so that was really cool. But yeah, they played older stuff like Perfect. Songs like that from their first album, which is probably their most successful album. But it was really cool to see that, and we noticed that. So we were able to see them play, I think, around 4 times, and this was like 4 different days. Because what they do is these bigger acts will come in. They'll start playing on Friday and they'll end on Monday, and they'll play 3 different sets. 5:30, 6:45, and 8 o'clock. And we noticed that because we typically would try to go hit like the 5:30 one, just because like that worked really well in our day. And we noticed that the 5:30 set and the 8 o'clock set were almost always the same. The only set that we didn't get to fully see was the 6:45 set. But the 5:30 set was almost always the same. They always started with "I'd Do Anything" and then did "Iconic" is another song from one of their newer albums. So I think the way that they were doing it was the 5:30 set, the 6:45 set, and the 8 o'clock set were all the same every day. So it would have been cool, and we kind of figured that out like at the end of our trip. I think like on the last day we were seeing the 5:30 set again, and we were like, this is all the same stuff. Like we could have rotated, and we didn't even really think about that. We were just trying to see them as many times as we could while also doing Disney things, which was actually very easy. Like I said, if you just wanted to do standing room, you could just like walk right in, and most of the time we were like, do you want to go see this set? Yeah, sure, let's go do it. And we ended up like getting there like as the set started, and we were able to get into standing room. So it was a lot of fun being able to just kind of like go see, it's nuts. It's just go see Simple Plan on your Disney vacation. However, we did that was like the plan, to see Simple Plan. So we had a lot of fun with that. But we were also able to ride rides. We rode Guardians. I think we only rode Guardians once. And then we were able to do things like Living with the Land, and we hit up a lot of the food booths. I have to say, food booths, there were a couple that I thought were really, really great. And that would be Germany was one of them. Mexico, everything we had at Mexico was really good. And honestly, a lot of the other ones were just kind of like meh. And I feel like that happens a lot now with these food booths, is that they I don't know. Like they'll be okay, but really it's more about like standout dishes that you'll see. And we didn't really do all that much research before we went, but yeah, we just kind of like flew by the seat of our pants while we were doing that. But Germany and Mexico were two big standouts for me. The Mexico booth, everything was very heavy though. It's not a lot of food, but everything was like very beefy, and like there was a lot of gravy. So I can't. Kristen is the one that always remembers exactly what we ate. She does a really good job of it. I just eat the stuff. Like I don't know what it is. She'll just put it in front of me and I'll just eat it. We've got Tatiana Lubo Naherniak in the chat here, and she says Mexico is the best. And I would have to agree with Tatiana. And it's funny because I always tell people to start in Canada, mainly because I like Mexico later in the day. Not for any alcoholic reason. Like sometimes people will say that, like end with tequila, which actually sounds terrible. But I like starting in Canada and just kind of like starting with that kind of vibe and ending with Mexico. But yes, the Mexico pavilion is quickly becoming one of my favorite pavilions. But yeah, so something we also did was we did a dining package for the Simple Plan show. And basically the way that works is you book a dining package on the My Disney Experience app, and it basically says you for sure have seats for the whatever show is running. And when we got there, they told us that it was the first, I think, 3 rows. So, I mean, we were going to have awesome seats either way. We did have a little bit of a snafu where we thought, I mean, they said the first 3 rows, but it seemed like the middle of those 3 rows, that was VIP. And we didn't quite understand that, so we were like trying to move all the way in. And then they stopped us and they said, no, you have to go back around. And by then, a ton of people had already funneled in, so we had to funnel in behind them. But it worked out because eventually, like there weren't a lot of people in that VIP section, so eventually they let us move over into the VIP section, so we were more kind of in the middle. So that was great. But yeah, when you do those dining packages, that's the idea, is like the first 3 rows of that garden theater is specifically for you. And that's kind of what you're paying for. I can't remember exactly. Actually, I think each, it was like $60 each about, and we got Rose and Crown. So we did reservations with Rose and Crown for the dining package, which was really good. I've been there before. And I love the food there, and I just love the vibe. I had the bangers and mash, and Kristen had the fish and chips, which if you are a big fan of fish and chips, go there and get the fish and chips because it's so much. My bangers and mash, I like got through that pretty quickly. It wasn't like a huge portion, but Kristen's portion of fish and chips was huge. And it was very good. And we had some drinks there. Kristen had a snake bite, which is, if you've never seen these before, it's basically like cider and beer mixed together. And the beer that she had was Harp beer. and just I'm not sure what kind of cider it was. But then I had I believe it's called a black velvet, which mine was cider and Guinness, which was a little bit darker than Kristen's cider and harp. Um, but we both liked it. It kind of like takes the edge off of like the heaviness of all of that beer. And the like it doesn't taste weird or any. I mean, it's definitely more of a fruity taste, but it really kind of like takes the edge off of everything. So I liked it a lot. I think I might find some places around here that possibly do that, or just make them myself. But yeah, Rose and Crown, would recommend. And the way it works is once you're all done with your meal and you've paid, they actually give you like they're almost like paper tickets to get in line. There's a separate line at the American Garden Theater that you wait in when you did the dining package, and that gets let into the theater. Like I think that's like one of the besides the VIPs, that's one of the first groups that gets let into the theater. So we get to funnel in and kind of like take our spots like wherever we want to be. And then everybody else gets let in on like standby. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and just being able to be like just being able to know that you're going to have a good view of the show. Because like I said, it's the first 3 rows that's dedicated for you. Just knowing that you'll have that, I think is worth the extra money for doing the dining package. And you can do the dining package with almost anything. Any big act that's coming through. We did the dining package for the Candlelight Processional. That one was kind of weird because I think we were towards the back of the line of the dining package people. So by the time they got to us, we were just kind of like filling holes wherever they had holes. So we were way farther back than the first 3 rows. But it was pretty well put together for when we saw a Simple Plan, and they let us in, and everybody in that queue for the dining package funneled into like the first 3 rows. So it was a lot of fun, and it was really it just kind of having that peace of mind to know that like you're gonna have decent seats for that show was really great. And we picked the 8:00 show. So it was decently dark, and it really felt like a show. And I was up close to all like these people that I had been listening to since I was a kid. It felt like a real show to me, which you wouldn't think would happen at Epcot. And also I didn't have to pay, other than the dining package. I didn't have to pay any extra to see Simple Plan at Epcot. Had I not done the dining package, I could have still potentially been that close and had that experience. So just going to Epcot and having that happen, I think, is awesome. We've got Janelle in here. Hi, Janelle. How's it going? It's great to see you. We're talking Simple Plan because they were just at Epcot, and we did a trip out to basically just see Simple Plan. That's all it was about. And we had a lot of fun. But yeah, I just kind of wrapped up talking about the dining package that you can do with Simple Plan. And I would say it was very much worth it. Especially if it's somebody that you want to see that's really special to you, and you want to know for sure that you're going to have a decent view. I would definitely do a dining package. It's not all that much more than if you were just going to dine at a nice place at Disney anyways, which Kristen and I do often. We do that a lot. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing that. And Janelle says, glad you had a wonderful time. I always have a wonderful time at Disney. It's very rare that I don't have a wonderful time at Disney. But yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about this trip, and this is kind of just turning into a trip report, was, again, we stayed at Beach Club, which is right next to Epcot, and it is also connected to Yacht Club, we went to the Yachtsman Steakhouse while we were on this trip, and I was really excited about this because Kristen and I had watched some videos of people going to Yachtsman and just having a wonderful time and eating all of this amazing food. And so we were super excited to go there. We typically try to, each time we go out on a trip, try to pick like one place to go eat that's that we're super excited about, and it's kind of like higher end, like some fine dining. And Yachtsman was the one for this trip. And the ambiance was really great. The Yachtsman the yacht club in general, I actually think is really cool. I love the ambiance at the yacht club. Going into the Yachtsman, we were able to sit down. We were able to get some bread. I ordered a big steak, the 22-ounce steak that they had, and Kristen ordered the filet mignon. I had some shrimp as an appetizer, and Kristen had a French onion soup. And I just have to say, and it's possible I just didn't order the right stuff, but I was slightly underwhelmed with the meal. And I'm the type of person that will be just like painfully positive about a lot of stuff. My wife will attest to this. I'll just be so incredibly positive, even if things aren't really that positive. So it's surprising that I had this type of experience at this type of restaurant, which like it's right up my alley. I love steak. I also love seafood. But just I don't know. I am giving Yachtsman the benefit of the doubt that I just didn't order the right stuff. Because just hearing what everybody had to say about Yachtsman, it sounded like a home run, and it really was not, at least for me. One of the things that we thought was a little off was Kristen ended up ordering lobster tail with her meal, just because she wanted to go all out. And the lobster tail was a little rubbery, as if it was a little overcooked. And that may just be the way that they prepare it. I think it was called lobster thermidor. So if that's like a different way of cooking lobster, I'm not sure. But yeah, it just wasn't. I was expecting, and maybe this is my fault, but I was expecting California Grill level, and I didn't get that. And again, that's probably just on me, but I definitely overhyped this place in my head, and it did not quite deliver to where I wanted it to be. Again, probably on me, because what happens is I'll go to steakhouses and just see a huge steak and be like, that sounds amazing, I want that. And not even thinking about what type of cut I'm getting or something like that. And Kristen's steak tasted actually very good, and she had the filet mignon. So yeah, I just think that I didn't order the right stuff. I didn't make my choices very well. However, if the place is good enough, I feel like possibly that shouldn't be an issue. You shouldn't have to like avoid certain things. But that's the benefit of the doubt that I'm giving Yachtsman at this point. But on that same day, we were able to do a lot of pool time. And that's one thing that we wanted to do more on this trip, was hang out by the pool, because we're at Beach Club. Beach Club, if you don't know, has Stormalong Bay, which is the biggest. I mean, they call it a pool, but it's really just a water park. It's pretty much a water park. But the biggest pool on property. It's got a huge water slide that you can go down. It's got a lazy river, which we spent most of our time in. And a lot of the pools, actually almost all of the pools, have sand bottoms, which I thought was interesting. And kind of going into these pools, I think it's like synthetic sand. Like it's basically just like like granules. Because I don't know how their filtration system would be able to deal with that. But it was really cool to like go into and like have a sand bottom. The kids loved it. The kids were constantly they have a giant area in the middle of one of the pools where all of the sand is kind of like packed up into, and the kids were just going to town. At one point I saw like a giant slit just cut into the sand. Like they must have taken this kid hours, but just everything was pulled out of the middle. And so they were just having a lot of fun. You could build sand castles with the sand. A lot of the kids were digging around. But yeah, the kids loved the sand bottom pool. And there's kind of like a little island of sand in the middle where they all hang out. But we really enjoyed the lazy river, and I think it's interesting to go to a water park type pool, and I'm not like old or anything, but I'm like 35 now, almost 36, or am I 36? I don't even know anymore. I have lost count. But that's where we were almost the entire time, was hanging out at the lazy river. And they had these really cool like floaty type things. There were like the inner tubes, but like half of it was cut out, so you could just like really easily sit in the lazy river and just kind of like float around. And that's all we did pretty much the entire time we were in the pool. And it was just a lot of fun to be able to just like sit back and relax on a Disney vacation and not be constantly running around, which it's funny because we like that. We like the constantly running around. We like doing all of that stuff. We love running from ride to ride and like trying to get Genie Plus and all of that stuff. But to be able to like actually chill and hang out and just like relax on a vacation actually was really great. It felt weird because it felt like we were wasting time, but really in the grand scheme of things, it was extremely relaxing, and we enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, one thing I noticed with that too, and this may be, I haven't done any actual research on this, but I have some friends that when they go to Disney, they get the Disney rash, and when we did the pool, we ended up putting sunscreen on ourselves, kind of all over, and then going out and being in the sun for a long time. I got a pretty decent sunburn, not like terrible, but like kind of what you would expect if like a super pasty white Midwesterner went out and sat in the sun in Florida. That's the sunburn I got. But I noticed that I got a little bit of the Disney rash on my legs, and this has never happened to me. I have never gotten the Disney rash in Disney. I don't religiously put sunscreen on, but I will, especially when I know that we're going to be outside for long periods of time, which is almost every day. But I've never gotten the Disney rash until now, and I'm pretty sure the combination is sweat, sunscreen, and chlorine. I'm pretty sure that's kind of what happens to your skin, is your skin gets irritated because all three of those things happened. Because that's kind of what we did is we put sunscreen on, we went into chlorine, we got out of chlorine, we went back into the sun for a while, we went back into the pool. Like, it's just kind of having all of those things happen. I'm pretty sure that's what creates the Disney rash. Now, the good thing is that it didn't hurt at all for me. Like, I kind of looked at my legs and I was like, oh, I think that's the Disney rash. And I was able to kind of rub on it and see kind of what it felt like. And it really didn't feel like anything. And I have some friends who, when they get the Disney rash, it's not a fun time. And so, yeah, it's just really interesting that happened to me, it's just never happened to me. And I think now I've kind of put all the variables together that sunscreen, sweat, and chlorine, like those are kind of the things that create the Disney rash. So a tip for you may be to, one, if you're gonna be in the pool, and you're going to get out of the pool and like say go to the parks or something like that, make sure you're washing yourself down well, because what I did was I just got out of the pool, I like dried off, and then immediately went into Epcot. So I'm guessing all three of these factors just sitting on my skin were kind of why everything got agitated. So if you have issues with the Disney rash, I'm pretty sure that's what you need to do is in between all of these things that you do with pool and sunscreen and sweating, just make sure that you are properly cleaning yourself off. They do have those like shower type nozzles around the all around the pool, so you can use that. But yeah, that's my one tip, and I don't even know if that's correct. That's just what I experienced, and I've never had that before, and I finally got it on this trip, and it was the only trip that we did any sort of extended pool time. So, Science Kylo came out and decided to give you some nuggets of wisdom or non-wisdom because it may be incorrect. But yeah, we had a great time at Beach Club. It was a lot of fun. Oh yeah, I'll give you guys some more tips. Another thing we ended up doing was I was really excited about the pizza window. If you know about and I'm not talking about the Epcot pizza window, I'm talking about the Boardwalk pizza window. And they are different. One of them is better. It's the better one is in Epcot, of course. But the Boardwalk pizza window, I've done this before, and the pizza is decent. It's honestly the regular pizza that you would get from like kind of any kind of quick service or hotel. They've just kind of jazzed it up a little bit, and they come in 2 individual slices. They call it one slice, but really it's 2 slices cut as one slice. But this is over at Boardwalk, and my idea was, when we get done at Epcot, when we watch the fireworks, before we go to our hotel room, we'll go hang out, or we'll go grab some pizza from the pizza window, and then we will go and just take it back to the room, like quick. We'll just do it really quick, and then we'll go back to the room. No. You always have to take into account the fact that everybody's probably thinking the same thing as you. Like it, and in my head, it made so much sense. I was like, oh yeah, we'll be done at Epcot. We'll go over to the pizza window. We'll get the pizza. We'll go back to the room. I didn't even think about like, oh yeah, everybody's going to be funneling out of Epcot, probably doing the same thing, and that's exactly what happened. The line at the pizza window wasn't terrible, but it took forever. And then as soon as we got up front, they were like, oh, it's around 35 minutes to get your slice. So if pizza window is something that you want to do, and it's something that you want to do later at night, do it before fireworks are done at Epcot, because and they close at midnight, and I'm pretty sure they were that slammed till midnight because we got our pizza at like past 11. So it was pretty nuts. It was, I mean, I would say it's worth it because it was pizza and it was a long day, and that's what I'm always craving at the end of a Disney day. So it was great to be able to go over there and get it. But understand that at those times, especially after a park has closed, and kind of like around that park, that's when everybody's going to be coming back to the resorts, and looking for food and stuff like that. So yeah, always take that into account, because I did not, and you'd think I would have because I'm smarter than that. But no. And Tatiana says, Science Kylo. Thank you, Tatiana. I am not very good at regular science, but I'm probably pretty good at Disney science. So, but yeah, it was a fun time. Being able to be very close to Boardwalk, very close to Epcot. It was very cool. The only other thing that I'll say is that it was weird not going to other parks. And I've thought this before because we've had other vacations where we've only gone to Magic Kingdom and only like maybe Epcot once. But I think Magic Kingdom is kind of that X factor where it's like, because it's not that like I didn't feel super Disney throughout the entire trip. I felt very Disney, but like Magic Kingdom really kind of has that magic of Disney, and so not really going to that park all that much did feel a little weird. But it was honestly, it was really great being able to go to Epcot almost all of the days we were there because I very much enjoy Epcot, and being able to throw in Simple Plan into almost every one of our days that we were there. It was a lot of fun. It was very cool to be able to do that. But yeah, that was our vacation. I don't have too much more to share with you guys. Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm sure I'll have more to talk about with Brian and bounce things off of him. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a trip together with Brian again soon. We're kind of putting that into the works. And of course, if you haven't seen, of course, I can't do this podcast on this day without mentioning this, but they have announced dates for pass holder previews for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And by the time Kristen and I had, because I was at work and Kristen was at home, by the time we had communicated, like, hey, let's try to do this, all the reservations were gone. It was insane that all of the reservations for, and I'm not talking for Tiana's, I'm talking for Magic Kingdom and every other park. For those days, like we couldn't even get a reservation now and then park hop over to Magic Kingdom anymore. All the park reservations are gone for it. So that's kind of sad because we wanted to try to make that trip happen, and we were kind of formulating how we would do it, and we were looking at flight prices, but now at this point there is no possible way. Plus, we would have to join the virtual queue, so there would be, even if we were able to get ourselves into the park, the possibility that we don't even get the virtual queue for Tiana's. So we would end up going there for a day, not doing the thing we wanted to do, and then leaving. So yeah, I think we're just going to try to ride it on one of our next trips that we're putting together. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I don't have Brian to do the typical outro, but I'll just say, if you liked any part of this podcast, Simple Plan, dining packages, Science Kylo, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We go live every Wednesday. Sometimes it's me and Brian, sometimes it's Brian and Tammy, sometimes it's me and Kristen. You never know what you're gonna get. We don't really know either, but it's been great having you guys. But we'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.
You are now